Welcome to the deep dive. Think about the last time you explained your weekend plans to a coworker.
Right.
If you were planning to exercise, how exactly did you phrase it? I mean, did you tell them you were going to engage your cardiovascular system to stave off metabolic decline?
Probably not.
No, definitely not. You likely relied on a shorthand. You might have said you were going to go for a run or hit the gym or get a sweat in.
Yeah, that's what we all do.
Today, we are turning our attention to that specific linguistic shorthand, the language of health, fitness, and physical exertion.
It's a really fascinating area.
It is. And our guide for this exploration is a pretty interesting piece of source material. We are looking at a foundational conversational script.
Right.
It's an educational dialogue featuring two hypothetical characters, Alex and Sophia. And this script was originally designed as a practical module to teach essential English fitness idioms to non-native speakers.
Which is such a unique angle to approach this from.
Exactly. It walks through a fairly standard interaction.
Yeah.
Someone comes back from a morning run, they discuss their gym habits, how to ask about group classes, what their bodily goals are, and finally, the physical aftermath of all that effort.
Soreness.
The soreness, yes.
Yeah.
But our mission today isn't to treat this like some high school vocabulary quiz.
You know at all.
Instead, we are treating this script as a piece of cultural anthropology. By analyzing these specific phrases, we're going to look at the nuances of how we communicate about our bodily health, the way we frame our physical effort, and how we process recovery.
It is a brilliant lens to look through because when you strip away the familiarity of these phrases, you realize just how bizarre and revealing they actually are. I mean, we use these idioms on autopilot.
Constantly.
But language is never neutral. The vocabulary we select to describe an action fundamentally alters our psychological posture toward that action.
Oh, absolutely.
This foundational script between Alex and Sophia operates almost like a mirror. It reflects a very modern, predominantly Western relationship with the human body.
Right.
We are looking at how a culture that has largely eradicated mandatory physical labor from daily survival.
Right. We are out plowing fields.
Exactly. How that culture now talks about the voluntary, simulated labor we subject ourselves to in our free time.
Simulated labor. I love that term.
Yeah, we are going to examine how our words bridge the massive psychological gap between the dread of physical exertion and the ultimate biological reward of it.
I really want to push on that idea of simulated labor because I think that gets right to the heart of the first major concept in our source material.
Let's do it.
The script opens with Sophia coming back from a morning run. She's feeling energetic, and Alex pivots the conversation to general fitness habits. He provides two primary casual questions we use to inquire about someone's routine. Do you work out? And how do you stay in shape?
The classics.
Right. So let's look at the first one. Do you work out? Why on earth have we culturally agreed to attach the word work to something we are theoretically doing for personal betterment and health?
It's a great question.
We don't say we're going to play out or leisure out. We call it work.
That phrasing is actually a direct descendant of the Industrial Revolution and the subsequent shift into the information age.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
Well, for the vast majority of human history, physical exertion was inextricably linked to survival and economic production. You plowed the field, you built the shelter, you hunted.
The physical exertion was the work.
Exactly. The physical exertion was the work. But as we transitioned into mechanized and later digital economies, our daily work became increasingly sedentary.
Right, we sit at desks.
To stare at screens. The physical movement was stripped entirely out of the economic labor, but the biological need for movement remained.
The body still needs it.
Right. So we had to compartmentalize physical exertion into a separate, dedicated block of time.
By calling it working out.
By calling it working out, we are subconsciously dignifying the activity. We are assigning it the moral weight and the obligatory nature of professional labor.
That is wild.
It implies discipline, effort, and a transactional outcome. You put in the work and you receive the wage of better health or aesthetics.
But doesn't that framing create an immediate psychological barrier?
How do you mean?
Well, think about it. If you tell someone who is already exhausted from their 8-hour workday that they now need to go do another form of work.
Oh, I see.
It sounds exhausting. It makes exercise sound like a second job, a chore, an obligation rather than a release.
It really does.
I wonder if this idiom actually contributes to the massive societal struggle with fitness consistency. If we framed it as play or recreation, Would we have less resistance to it?
I think there is a valid argument there, but the counter-argument is that framing it as work is actually a necessary mechanism for prioritizing it.
Really? How so?
Well, in a hyper-productive culture, we only respect things that require effort and yield tangible results.
That's sadly true.
Right. If we called it play, it might be dismissed as frivolous, something you only do when you have abundant free time.
Which no one feels they have.
Exactly. No one feels they have free time. Work demands a slot on the calendar. It demands to be taken seriously.
That makes a lot of sense. You schedule work, you just sort of hope for play.
Exactly.
So, if working out is the broad category of simulated labor, the second question Alex poses in the script, how do you stay in shape? That gives us the objective.
Yes, the goal.
But this phrase, stay in shape, is so strained when you actually pause to visualize it. It treats the human body like a piece of malleable clay or some geometric structure.
The word shape is doing an immense amount of heavy lifting in that sentence.
Pun intended.
Yes. Notice that the idiom does not specify which shape. It doesn't ask, how do you stay in a muscular shape? Or how do you stay in a lean shape?
It just says shape.
Right. It relies on a collectively understood, unspoken cultural ideal of what the correct shape is. But honestly, the more crucial word in that phrase is stay.
Because it implies entropy. It implies that if you do nothing, the shape is lost.
Staying in shape suggests that fitness is not a destination. You don't cross a finish line, achieve the shape, and then retire.
The natural trajectory of the biological organism, subjected to gravity, time, and modern sedentary convenience, is to degrade from that idealized form.
Exactly. Therefore, to stay in shape is to be in a constant, active state of rebellion against nature. It is an ongoing project of preservation.
It really frames the human body as a fragile geometry that requires constant, vigilant maintenance. You aren't just building something, you're holding off the collapse of something.
It is the myth of Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill, but applied to our waistlines and cardiovascular system.
The boulder always wants to roll back down.
Always.
And the source material beautifully contrasts these broad philosophical concepts of working out and staying in shape with a highly specific tactical response.
Right, Sophia's routine.
Yeah, Sophia provides an example of how to describe a routine frequency. And she uses the phrase, I hit the gym 3 times a week. I really want to linger on this verb, hit.
It's a strong word.
The text notes that Alex explains this to Sophia as a very natural way to say go to the gym. But of all the verbs available in the English language, why hit?
The verb hit is inherently violent.
It
implies impact, suddenness, force, and aggression. When you analyze the spatial reality of going to a gym, it is objectively mundane.
Totally mundane.
You are getting in a car, driving to a commercial retail space, walking through a glass door, and scanning a barcode. You are just arriving at a location.
You can easily say, I am going to the gym.
Or I attend the fitness center. But we choose to say hit.
I think we use that violent language because we have to trick our own nervous systems.
How do you mean?
Think about the mental state required to voluntarily subject yourself to discomfort. You are sitting on a comfortable couch in a climate-controlled room, and you have to convince yourself to go lift heavy metal objects until your muscles fail.
Or run on a treadmill until your lungs burn.
Right. You cannot gently coax yourself into that state. You have to psych yourself up. Saying, I hit the gym, transforms you from a passive commuter into a projectile.
A projectile, I like that.
The gym is the target. It is an aggressive, proactive, goal-oriented stance. It feels like you are going into battle.
You are describing the linguistic adoption of an adversarial mindset. And it is completely necessary for many people. It overcomes the inertia we just discussed.
Because the couch is very comfortable?
Exactly. In English, we use hit to initiate several effortful processes. We hit the books when we need to study for a difficult exam. We hit the road when we are embarking on a long, arduous journey.
So it acts as a linguistic catalyst.
Yes, it is a sharp, percussive sound hit that serves to snap us out of our lethargy and initiate a state of high energy.
I completely agree with the psychological utility of it. But let me play devil's advocate for a moment.
Go for it.
Does this aggressive, battle-oriented language alienate people? If the prevailing cultural narrative is that fitness requires you to be a warrior who hits the gym, it creates an incredibly high barrier to entry.
It certainly does.
If I am someone who is intimidated by exercise, who maybe feels out of place in a weight room, the idea that I have to go hit this place might be the exact phrasing that keeps me sitting on the couch.
Because it frames fitness as a combat sport.
Right. rather than a nurturing practice.
That is a very astute observation, and it highlights the dual edge of our linguistic choices. The language of hyper-masculine, aggressive discipline has dominated gym culture for decades.
No pain, no gain.
Crush your goals, hit the gym. For a specific demographic, that is highly motivating. But for others, it is deeply exclusionary.
It suggests that if you are not arriving with the intent to do violence to your own muscles, you don't belong there.
And the beauty of our source text is that it actually provides the linguistic antidote to that exact problem.
Oh, right. The other options.
Exactly. Alex and Sophia's conversation doesn't stop at the gym doors. They explore other modalities of movement, and we see an immediate distinct shift in the verbs used.
Sophia offers an alternative to the gym.
Yeah.
She says, I'm really into yoga lately.
The contrast between I hit the gym and I'm really into yoga is staggering.
It's night and day.
The environment dictates the verb. The gym is a synthetic, artificial environment built exclusively for the mechanics of exertion. It invites the percussive hit.
But yoga.
Yoga, conversely, is rooted in philosophies of mindfulness, breath, alignment, and flow. You cannot hit yoga.
You'd probably be asked to leave if you tried.
Right. The practice rejects that kind of sudden, forceful impact. When Sophia says she is into yoga, the language softens dramatically.
To be into something suggests immersion.
Yeah.
It suggests you are surrounded by it, that you are exploring it.
Yes.
It sounds like a phase of identity or a passionate interest. You hear people say they were into jazz music or into modern art. By saying, I'm really into yoga, you are signaling that this is not just a chore to be completed, not a box to be aggressively checked off, but an experiential state you are entering. It feels holistic.
It shifts the focus from an external target, the gym, to an internal state. And the source text provides a third option, which introduces yet another environmental dynamic.
The park.
Yes. Alex suggests, for those who prefer the outdoors, you might say, I like to go for a jog in the park.
Look at the pacing of that entire sentence. It is long, rhythmic, and leisurely. Go for a jog in the park.
It flows.
It sounds almost like a romantic invitation. If I say I hit the gym, I sound busy, important, and stressed.
But if you say,
If I say I go for a jog in the park, I sound like I have my life together, I appreciate nature, and I have the luxury of time.
it frames the exercise as a scenic, casual choice rather than an act of forced labor.
This tripartite structure in the text hitting the gym, being into yoga, going for a jog, reveals how meticulously we use language to signal our personal relationship with physical activity on any given day.
We are broadcasting our mindset.
We are telling our peers not just what we're doing, but who we are while we are doing it.
Are we the disciplined warrior conquering the gym? Are we the centered seeker flowing into yoga? Or are we the relaxed wanderer enjoying the park?
The vocabulary is the preamble to the physical state.
Perfectly said.
So, once we have established our identity and articulated our routine, we actually have to cross the threshold into these physical spaces.
Which is a whole other linguistic minefield.
It really is. This brings us to the next phase of Alex and Sophia's script, where they navigate the social and functional aspects of a fitness facility.
The front desk interaction.
Yeah. Alex gives Sophia specific advice on how to interact with the front desk, providing two key questions. Do you offer any group classes? And is there a beginner's class for Pilates?
There is so much sociology packed into these two questions.
Let's start with the desire for group classes, because it subverts the popular image of the lone, stoic gym goer with their headphones on, completely isolated.
Wait, the lone wolf archetype.
Exactly. Asking for a group class. The text mentions Zumba or Pilates as examples, points to our inherent nature as social creatures, even when performing acts of self-improvement.
I think we seek out group classes because working out alone is incredibly difficult.
It is.
It requires a massive amount of intrinsic motivation. You have to be the engine, the steering wheel, and the navigator all at once.
That's exhausting before you even pick up a weight.
Exactly. So when you walk up to a front desk and ask, do you offer any group classes? What you are really asking is, can I outsource my motivation to an instructor?
Wow. Thanks.
You are looking to plug into a pre-existing community, a temporary tribe, where the collective rhythm of the room, the loud music, and frankly the social pressure of not wanting to stop before the person next to you stops will carry you through the fatigue.
It is the commodification of the tribal hunt or the communal harvest.
Exactly.
We are paying a monthly fee to experience synchronized physical exertion with our peers because our biology rewards us for that behavior.
But the second question Alex provides introduces a fascinating layer of vulnerability.
Is there a beginner's class?
Right. Using the word beginner in a modern adult context is actually quite rare, and it takes a certain amount of courage.
It does. We live in a culture that expects competence, optimization, and expertise in everything we do.
From day one.
Admitting that you are a novice, that you do not know how to operate the machinery or perform the movements, runs completely counter to the ego-driven hit-the-gym mentality we just discussed.
Vocalizing the word beginner is a highly effective linguistic shield.
A shield. Tell me more about that.
When you ask the front desk for a beginner's class, you're actively lowering the stakes. You are establishing the terms of engagement.
You're managing expectations.
Precisely. You are signaling to the staff, the future instructor, and most importantly yourself, that perfection is not expected. You are creating a psychological safe harbor where errors in form and moments of confusion are part of the curriculum.
Rather than sources of embarrassment.
Right. It is a necessary shedding of ego.
It is a brilliant way to defang the intimidation of a new space. But once you are in the door, whether in a class or on the floor, you need a compass. You need to know what you are aiming for.
The goals.
The goals. The script lays out a very specific menu of fitness ambitions. Sophia states her desires. She wants to build muscle and stay flexible.
And Alex chimes in with alternative goals.
Right. Wanting to lose a few pounds or improve stamina.
The linguistic directions of these goals are pulling against each other in fascinating ways.
Let's contrast building muscle with losing a few pounds.
We are looking at the fundamental dichotomy of body modification here. Addition versus subtraction.
Building muscle uses the language of architecture and construction.
It implies that the body is a foundation upon which you can erect new structures. You are accruing mass, stacking tissue, creating something that was not there before.
It is an act of expansion.
Exactly. Now contrast that with losing a few pounds.
This is subtractive language.
It frames the body not as a building but as a sculpture, where the goal is to chisel away excess material to reveal the form underneath.
You're casting off, diminishing, reducing.
It is so interesting that a person walking into a gym can either be an architect looking to add or a sculptor looking to subtract, and they use the exact same equipment to achieve completely opposite spatial goals.
And the cultural weight applied to these two goals is vastly different depending on gender, age, and societal trends, though that is shifting.
Very true. But wedged right between the architect and the sculptor is the goal of staying flexible.
Ah, there's that word stay again, just like stay in shape.
Exactly. Staying flexible is an act of pure preservation.
Flexibility is an inherent, unearned trait of youth. A toddler can put their foot behind their head with zero effort.
Just effortlessly. But as we age, as tissue dries out, as we sit in chairs for decades, that elasticity is slowly stolen from us.
Therefore, the goal to stay flexible is an attempt to arrest the march of time.
It is not about changing how you look in the mirror. It is about maintaining the functional range of motion against the stiffening effects of aging.
It is the WD-40 of fitness goals. Just keep the hinges from rusting.
That's a great way to put it.
But of all the goals listed in Alex and Sophia's script, the one that I find the most profound and the one that demands the deepest analysis is the desire to improve stamina.
Stamina, yes.
The word stamina sits completely apart from the aesthetic goals of building muscle or losing pounds. You cannot look at a photograph of someone and accurately judge their stamina.
It is entirely invisible.
It is. So let's look at the etymology of the word stamina.
It derives from Latin, specifically relating to the threads spun by the fates in Roman mythology, the threads of life.
Wow, the threads of life.
Yes. Over time, it evolved to mean the vital force, the innate capacity, the staying power of an organism.
So when someone states their goal is to improve stamina, they are completely sidestepping the mirror and the scale.
They're talking about their internal engine.
Right. If the body is a car, building muscle is upgrading the body kit to look aggressive. And losing weight is stripping out the heavy seats to make it lighter.
But improving stamina.
Improving stamina is putting a bigger gas tank in the car and upgrading the radiator so the engine doesn't overheat.
It is entirely about functional capacity. It is the ability to withstand prolonged physical or mental effort. It is the active delay of exhaustion.
And pursuing stamina requires a fundamentally different psychological approach than the other goals.
How so?
Well, to build muscle, you engage in brief, intense periods of overload followed by rest. It is explosive.
Right, lifting a heavy weight for a few seconds.
But to improve stamina, you have to subject yourself to sustained, prolonged, uncomfortable effort. You have to exist in a state of fatigue for an extended period.
Signaling to your cardiovascular system that the current baseline is insufficient.
You have to sit in the fire.
Which means vocalizing the goal of improving stamina is essentially vocalizing a willingness to endure suffering.
It is a profoundly functional goal because it translates to every aspect of human life outside the gym. You know, to you listening right now, you don't need to deadlift 400 pounds to survive a Tuesday at the office or to chase your toddler around the park.
But you do need stamina.
You need the ability to not get winded when the elevator is broken.
Yeah.
You need the endurance to maintain focus during a long meeting.
Stamina bridges the gap between physical fitness and life fitness.
It is the ultimate metric of vitality. But regardless of which of these goals you choose, whether you are building, losing, preserving, or enduring, the pursuit requires a biological transaction.
You are demanding adaptation from your body, and the body charges a fee for that adaptation.
Which brings us directly to the third phase of the script, the aftermath, and the language we use to describe the physical toll.
The morning after.
The morning after. You hit the gym, you join the beginner's group class, you push your stamina, and now you wake up.
And you feel it.
You really feel it. The script introduces a very specific vocabulary word for this state. Alex initially frames it by asking if Sophia feels painful. But Sophia corrects the nuance, seeking the exact right word, and Alex provides it. Sore.
Sore.
He defines it based on the text simply as when your muscles hurt after exercise. But the distinction between being in pain and being sore is one of the most crucial linguistic and psychological dividers in the entire realm of physical culture.
The distinction is paramount because it dictates our response to the sensation. In almost every other context of human existence, pain is an evolutionary alarm bell.
It means danger.
It is the nervous system screaming that damage is occurring. If you touch a hot stove, the pain tells you to pull your hand away. If you twist your ankle on the sidewalk, the sharp pain tells you to stop putting weight on it immediately.
Pain means stop, seek help, protect the area.
But soreness is the culturally sanctioned exception to that rule.
Soreness is pain that has been rebranded.
It is a dull, aching, restrictive sensation in the muscle tissue, caused by the literal micro-tears you inflicted upon yourself the day before, compounded by inflammation.
You have damaged yourself.
Yet, we do not view this as an injury. We view it as a triumph.
It is categorized as good pain. We understand that this specific type of physical discomfort is the prerequisite for biological growth. The muscle must be slightly damaged to repair itself stronger.
Therefore, the sensation of soreness is cognitively reframed from injury to evidence of progress.
And we wear that evidence like a badge of honor. The script gives us a fantastic, universally relatable quote to illustrate this. Sophia says, "I'm so sore I can barely walk."
Let's just appreciate the theatrical hyperbole of that statement.
I can barely walk.
Every single person listening has uttered some variation of this phrase. You do a heavy leg workout, or you try a new spin class, and the next day you are descending the stairs sideways, groaning with every step, gripping the handrail for dear life.
But we don't say it with genuine despair. We say it with a weird masochistic pride.
The exaggeration serves a distinct social function. When you announce to your coworkers or family that you can barely walk because you are so sore, you are not actually asking for medical assistance or sympathy.
No, you don't want a wheelchair.
You are broadcasting your work ethic. You are seeking social validation for the invisible effort you expended the day before.
Exactly. It is social currency. If you walked into the office and announced, "I have a sharp, terrifying pain in my lower spine," people would be concerned and tell you to go to the hospital.
But if you hobble in and gleefully announce, "I'm so sore from deadlifts yesterday, I can barely sit in my chair."
The subtext is, look at my discipline. Look at my dedication. I suffered voluntarily for self-improvement.
We exaggerate the debilitation to emphasize the magnitude of the effort.
It ties back to the puritanical work ethic we discussed earlier regarding the term working out. We inherently distrust things that come easily.
If you exercise and feel absolutely nothing the next day, there is a lingering psychological doubt. Did I work hard enough? Did I actually stimulate any change?
The soreness is the physical receipt for the transaction. It validates the time spent.
It is the receipt. I love that.
But this brings us to what I consider the most fascinating moment in the entire source text. Sophia brings up the ultimate paradox of exercise.
She acknowledges the painful reality of being sore, the difficulty of walking, but then she pivots.
She says, "But I also feel refreshed and full of energy after a good sweat."
This is the central paradox of human physical exertion. On a strictly mechanical thermodynamic level, the statement makes no sense.
0 cents.
You have just spent an hour depleting your body's stored glycogen. You have dehydrated yourself through sweating. You've caused micro-trauma to your muscle fibers. You have elevated your heart rate and stressed your central nervous system.
The biological reality is one of severe depletion and damage.
And yet, the subjective systemic response is the exact opposite. You feel refreshed and full of energy.
How is it possible that draining our battery makes us feel like the battery is fully charged? It feels like biological magic. I go into the gym feeling lethargic, tired from staring at a computer screen. I exhaust myself physically, and I walk out feeling like I can take on the world.
It is a brilliant evolutionary adaptation driven by a complex cascade of neurochemicals.
Okay, science time. Let's hear it.
When we subject our bodies to intense physical stress, the brain recognizes that we are in a high-demand situation. Historically, this would mean we were fleeing a predator or hunting prey.
Life or death.
To help us survive this stress, the brain releases a cocktail of chemicals. Endorphins, which act as natural painkillers, dopamine, which drives motivation and reward, and serotonin, which regulates mood.
So while the muscles are mechanically breaking down and crying out in fatigue, the brain is essentially getting high on its own supply.
Exactly. The brain is flooded with a chemical profile that produces a profound sense of clarity, well-being, and euphoria.
But beyond the neurochemistry, there is a deepest psychological relief occurring.
In our modern lives, we are constantly burdened by low-level, abstract, unresolved stressors, emails, financial worries, relationship politics.
These stressors trigger our fight-or-flight response. But we can't actually fight an email, and we can't run away from a mortgage.
So that anxiety just sits in the body, vibrating.
Precisely. Exercise provides a tangible, physical outlet for that pent-up survival energy. When you exhaust yourself physically, you are finally closing the stress loop.
You are telling your nervous system, we fought the battle, we ran from the tiger, and we survived.
The result of closing that loop is a profound sense of psychological refreshment and a surge of perceived energy, even if the body is physically tired.
That is so deeply insightful. We are using physical exhaustion to cure modern psychological exhaustion.
And the text encapsulates this purge with a very specific, culturally rich idiom. Sophia says she feels this way after a good sweat.
I want to analyze this phrase because sweat, in almost any other context of modern life, is considered socially unacceptable, or at least undesirable.
It is a bodily excretion.
Right. If you arrive at a job interview sweating profusely, it signals anxiety and lack of control. If you are sweating on a crowded subway because the air conditioning is broken, it is uncomfortable and unhygienic.
We spend billions of dollars on antiperspirants to prevent our bodies from engaging in this natural cooling process.
Yet, within the boundaries of fitness, we completely invert the value of sweat. We don't just tolerate it, we elevate it. We call it a good sweat.
We treat it as a metric of success. If you leave the gym and your shirt is completely dry, you almost feel like you cheated yourself.
The cultural elevation of sweat in fitness relates to the concept of purging. A good sweat is viewed metaphorically as a cleansing ritual.
We culturally equate the physical output of fluid with the expulsion of toxins, lethargy, and negative energy.
It is as if the sweat is carrying away the stress of the day. The literal fluid leaving the pores becomes a visible, tangible metaphor for shedding the invisible weights we carry.
It is a secular baptism by exertion. You are washing away the sluggishness of the sedentary life.
The sweat is the visible proof that you push the internal engine hard enough to force the cooling system to turn on.
It is the visual evidence of the hit you delivered to the gym.
And Alex, the other character in our text, concludes this entire exchange with a definitive, triumphant statement. He responds to Sophia's feeling of being refreshed by saying, "That's the best part of fitness."
Notice what he does not say. He does not say that looking good in a swimsuit is the best part. He does not say that hitting a personal record on the bench press is the best part.
He identifies the fleeting neurochemical psychological reset, the feeling of being refreshed after shared suffering, as the absolute pinnacle of the endeavor.
Which brings a beautiful sense of closure to the arc we have been tracking today. We started with the aggressive, almost violent intention required to overcome inertia, hitting the gym.
We move through the calculated structural goals of building, losing, and enduring.
We confronted the painful reality of being sore and barely able to walk.
And we arrived, finally, at the state of catharsis, where the depletion of the body yields the refreshment of the mind.
The vocabulary maps the journey from resistance to reward. It shows that our language of fitness is not just a collection of descriptive terms. It is a prescriptive narrative we tell ourselves to make the difficulty of physical discipline meaningful.
And what a narrative it is. We have taken a seemingly straightforward dialogue, meant to teach English idioms, and we have unpacked an entire cultural philosophy of how we relate to our own flesh and blood.
As we move to wrap up this deep dive, let's just distill the core insights we've uncovered. We've seen that language is the bridge between our intention and our action.
We examined how framing exercises working out reflects an industrialized mindset, turning movement into a scheduled obligation.
And how staying in shape reveals our anxiety about the inevitable entropy of the human form.
We dissected the aggressive utility of hitting the gym as a necessary fiction to combat lethargy, contrasting it with the softer, immersive language of being into yoga or the leisurely framing of going for a jog.
We looked at the sociology of the gym floor, the vulnerability of admitting you are a beginner, and the communal instinct to seek out group classes to outsource our motivation.
We analyzed the architectural goals of building muscle versus the subtractive goals of losing pounds, and elevated the pursuit of stamina as the ultimate invisible metric of functional vitality.
And finally, we explored the aftermath. We drew a hard line between injury pain and the socially validated good pain of being sore, exploring how we use hyperbole like I can barely walk to broadcast our virtue.
We unraveled the beautiful paradox where a good sweat, the physical depletion of the body, serves to close the modern stress loop, leaving us feeling profoundly refreshed and psychologically energized.
The words we use are the heavy machinery that shapes our reality. Now, the source text we use today includes a simple homework question at the end for its students. And I want to pass that question directly to you, the listener.
How do you stay in shape?
And more importantly, the next time someone asks you that question, I want you to pay close attention to the specific verbs and idioms you choose. Are you hitting something? Are you going somewhere? Are you building, losing, or staying?
Notice the narrative you are constructing around your own physical existence.
It is an incredible exercise in self-awareness. Listening to your own language can reveal hidden resistances or motivations you didn't even know you had.
It truly can.
And to leave you with a final provocative thought, something to mull over while you're lacing up your shoes or driving to your next workout. Our source materials, Alex and Sophia, focused entirely on the physical lexicon. Muscles, sweat, pounds, physical stamina, bodily soreness.
But given everything we have discussed about modern anxiety, neurochemistry, and the stress loop,
I want you to consider this. When we say we are going to work out or build stamina, how much of that endeavor is actually about physical fitness? And how much of it is actually about preparing ourselves mentally to handle the daily, invisible resistance of life itself?
are we building muscle just to lift heavy weights? Or are we intentionally subjecting our nervous systems to controlled stress so that we can tolerate the chaotic, demanding stress of the modern world?
Is the gym the last socially acceptable arena where we can fight a tangible physical battle, suffer visibly, and actually win?
That is the ultimate question. Perhaps the body is just the proxy we use to train the mind.
Think about the invisible weight of your words the next time you say you're going to get a good sweat in. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the language of your daily life, and we will catch you next time.